Welcome to Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth and guest co-host Sharon Crowley from the Om Center of Healing. And we are in studio with the magical, magnificent Wagners. Almost all four of them are here. One is here in spirit. But we have Kelly and Steve Wagner, who are the Edge publishers, website administration, graphic designer, marketing, sales, the whole caboot. And then their daughter, Brinley, who is 12 and a bright being of light and creative potential and artist herself. And we are going to explore sovereignty with y'all. And
bringing in that Southern charm.
Apparently. I don't even know where that,
y'all.
I'm not even sure where that came from.
Okay.
So. But it's here. Anyway, say again.
The room is full.
The room is very full, both physically, and Kelly is also, she does some psychic healing work. And so she sees many people who may be in form and also spirits. And the room is very, very, very full. I feel it. So welcome, Kelly and Steve and Brinley, and Sharon and I are really happy that you all said yes.
So happy you're here.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us, you didn't always own the Edge magazine.
No.
Or the Edge, what has become a flourishing community, but the Edge has been around for a while. So bring us to this moment of like, how long has the Edge been around? And when you were invited to or inspired or heard the opportunity and said a big yes to it?
Well, I'd have to say, it wasn't really a thought in our minds. Years ago, it just slowly evolved into being a very possible thing. We heard it was coming up for sale. We realized we had a lot of the tools that we would need to run a media company. And then on top of that, we had been a part of a community that lives and breathes, these things. We've done
the community for higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've gone to shamanic ceremonies. We've done Reiki. We've done yoga. We've done energetic healing protocols. This is what we were doing already. We just now.
You were kind of primed for it. I mean, because you yourself, Steve, you've been a graphic designer. You're really brilliant at it. And also interested in your own inner journey and that healing journey. And I would say, I mean, when I heard that you two were purchasing the Edge and stepping into the Edge magazine in the community, I was like, it was like ding, 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 like total, like, of course they're doing that.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. Did you have, sorry, I'm just going to jump in.
Jump.
Question. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do with it and like a path laid out in front of you? Or were you just being led and were things just organically popping up in your path with
it? I'd say both. We saw right away that there was just some antiquated ways that the previous owners were doing things. They hadn't really jumped into social media. They hadn't really jumped into, like this live interviews and multimedia. And so right away we knew kind of what we thought could work differently. And then also, I was always a big Stephen King fan, and he said, you write about what you know about. So like really a lot of the stuff, it just is kind of organic. It comes in, the writers, we have a lot of great contributors that send us stuff. So we get to kind of ride the ocean current of what's coming up. A lot of these people are getting stuff, spiritually, energetically, intuitively. So it's kind of there. It's kind of coming out. So we get to kind of steer the ship a little bit, but really it really is a community.
Yeah.
We're just curating what we see and hear. And, and part of why we like the theme of curiosity is we can say, oh, I don't know about that.
Right.
I've never heard of a death doula. That's kind of something we were talking about last week. Well, you hear about it and you're like, "Gosh, it makes a lot of sense to have that." It's a
Right.
big
Mhm.
transition, and especially in the United States, our relationship with death is different from a lot of
Absolutely.
other cultures. So that's just one example. So it's,
Yeah.
And then you can go and learn about it.
and then we get to learn and we grow exactly and understand more in the process. So it's benefiting us, it's benefiting everybody.
Your tagline, being curious and exploring higher consciousness, is it definitely creates a space for people to keep an open mind. And you're creating so many beautiful platforms for such a diverse community of thought leaders and people who are exploring different ways of healing in a way that I find exciting, because it's not about competition. It's about like, hey, how does my gift brush up against your gift? And do we collaborate, or do we just like promote, or do we do something together? And it's creating this, what I see as like this beautiful mosaic and snowball effect for many people, not only in the Twin Cities where your headquarters are, but around the world now. And that's such a beautiful ripple effect. And Kelly, you were in sales, right, before this?
I was sales and marketing. So, you know what I like? I just saw the images. I feel like I'm a cruise ship director. You know, the one that, right? It's like everyone's there, but I have a responsibility to, if someone wants to sit in their cabin, I get them to come out and want to do it in a really safe way. Or, but as I love it, Steve used the death doula example,
Mhm.
because we're using our intuition and because we're using our gifts and abilities. Not only it's going with what is presented. So I've had multiple death doulas contact us in the last couple of weeks. I was invited to a death cafe. I got to go to Lakewood Cemetery. So
Yeah.
it's like when all of these things line up like pins, you're like, okay, well, you can't deny that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
It's
I
like
need
an
to-
energetic
it's
flow.
an energetic flow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And using our gifts and abilities, we're like, okay, I just saw this. Okay, we got to do something with it, right?
I was a perinatal hospice doula for a long time, and grew up in a family of morticians. So I played hide and seek in coffins quite frequently.
Oh,
That is
sister's a mortician. So
Oh, well,
right?
Steve.
So like, right?
Did you play hide and seek in coffins?
No, I got a tour of the showroom though.
Yeah, there you go. You get, my grandpa used to bring us, like, if they were taking care of us and he had a body to take care of or pick up, he would bring us with him, and he would tell us to stay out of the kitchen where they do the embalming.
Yeah.
And so we would
But that isn't
we
interesting.
would be playing in the coffins. And if you have a coffin that's half open and you can slide down to the foot part, it's really kind of hard. You have to go up on the risers to try to find your cousin or your sibling and like peek in.
But that's really that I find interesting, because you were exposed to things that not everybody was exposed
I went to so many funerals, I had no idea who the
And s-
person was.
well, and so it absolutely shapes your perception in a different way, where you could possibly be open in a way that other people are not.
I see death more as a transition. And if we can
Right.
practice the micro transitions of like when we go to bed and when we wake up and when we move from home to school or from home to the
Right.
radio station with more ease and skill, that transition from this body or from hiding in a coffin to not hiding in a coffin becomes more skillful and easier. Anyway.
But I think that's a fantastic metaphor for everything that you all are doing in the magazine,
Mhm.
and with the way you're growing it and stretching it and reaching more. It's being open to. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It's being open to so many different ways of experiencing the world around you, and that's what makes it special. So when you open your magazine, you're experiencing all these things that you may never have come into contact with,
Mhm.
which I think is just so beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, so I've got a question for Brinley. So Brinley, your parents, you're 12. My youngest is 12. And your parents come and, they've been doing a very different career path. And they say, hey, we're going to purchase this thing called The Edge magazine. And we're going to take this leap and it's going to, change the trajectory of your family. I don't know how much you were aware of it, but like, what's that experience been like, and how has it been for you?
I first like learned that they were buying it in like 2020, like late 2020. I was just like, okay, do you? I didn't really I didn't really care. I knew they were kind of weird like that for my whole life. So I wasn't surprised that they were going to do something like that. I mean, we're just taking our first like summer vacation for 2 years because it's been so busy with the Edge.
Yeah.
Um
So you've had to take a pause on some of the
Yeah.
things that were a normal routine for your family.
some like spring winter break we've had to kind of stay at home and not
Mhm.
go out to Florida or
Mhm.
that kind of place because they were busy with it. But I mean, they're helping people find what they want to do and
Yeah.
what they've been kind of struggling with. So
And I imagine that trickles down. Like, do you feel wide open space to be you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you find yourself trying to explain things to your peers that maybe they've not thought of or come into contact with?
Do you want to talk about your guide, Mandy?
Oh,
And if you
Mandy.
don't want to, you don't have to.
Mandy,
She just gave you a look like.
I totally did.
you brought something up.
Or Linda and Tom.
So I play softball.
Yep.
I've been playing for 4 years. Mandy Matula was, I don't know if you know about her. She was a softball player. I don't know if she was on the high school team. She was on a high school team or something. She was in kind of a toxic relationship with her boyfriend, and she wanted to end things with her boyfriend, and she got shot when she tried to break up with him. She was dumped in the woods, and she was like all that, and it was in the Miller Park.
I know the Miller
Parking
Park,
lot?
yeah,
Yeah.
and Eden Prairie there.
So whenever I go there, like before, I would feel her. So ever since like I kind of met with her, she's been helping me with softball. Whenever I'd be in like a hitting slump or kind of that, I would have her guidance.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
And when you say, just to clarify for the community, when you say met with her more energetically, like
When she
presented herself
Yeah,
to you
when she-
energetically.
when she would present herself, eventually I would like, oh, hi there. Like I would,
She wanted to
actually
communicate
talk.
with you
Yeah.
after she had died.
yeah.
Yeah.
She saw something interesting in me or something. So she
See your
talked to me.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, an interesting thing about it is, so I guess and you can correct me, Brinley, but her boyfriend was from Minnetonka, and anytime Minnetonka teams would be on the field, wouldn't Mandy like turn her back, or she would do something energetically acknowledging her energy around that?
Oh yeah.
Right. So it was, and Brinley's like, she doesn't like to go to the parking lot. And this is when she's 10. She's telling us that Mandy doesn't like to go to the parking lot. And from what we understand, and I want to take a step back to Mandy Matula's family, that we're here to honor. Like, we're not here to do anything but desperately honor their daughter and their daughter's soul. But Brinley said she'd never want to come off the field and go into the parking lot. And to our understanding, that is where she perished. So it's interesting having this daughter who's 8, 9, 10, so dialed in, and she didn't know anything about that. So that's just one of the examples of how we're the community and how we're living and raising her and open to her gifts and abilities. And
Yeah. So lovely and well shared, Kelly, because so Brinley is 8, 9, 10, and she's feeling this presence of this girl, Mandy, and you didn't know Mandy's story, but
No, not at all. When I first kind of was like, hey, this girl at Miller, she says she's a softball player. She introduced herself to me. Her name's Mandy Matula. My dad was like, oh. And he was like, did you know that this happened? And I was like, well, she doesn't like to go in the parking lot. And when I played, like she said, whenever I played Minnetonka, she would like
and I think
get mad or something.
And I think what you're opening our community up to is that we have so many guides and spirit support around us, from people who have been on the earth plane and have passed and want to come back to be support to those who are still navigating this life journey. And the fact that you are open to that message and open and not afraid of it, and you had parents who are supporting your gifts and talents and attributes is, I mean, profound. And I think a way that we can stay connected to the loved ones we have, even when something as tragic as what happened to Mandy happened. So as we continue to explore sovereignty with Elizabeth and guest co-host Sharon Crowley and Kelly and Steve Wagner, the publishers of Edge magazine, and their daughter Brinley, we'll return. This is Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth and guest co-host Sharon Crowley, and we are having the delightful privilege of being in studio with Kelly and Steve Wagner, the publishers from Edge magazine, and their daughter Brinley, who is 12 and an emerging artist and gifted, energetic being herself. And we were just talking before break, Sharon, with these lovely beings of light here, that it's really that importance of how, when we're supported at a young age, not to shut down our intuitive gifts and abilities, how much resource they can be to us, whether they're helping on the softball field when we're in a slump, or I think so much we, are told not to tap into all these guides around us that are constantly supporting our process. And here Brinley has this lovely opportunity to have parents who are like, yeah, that's real. Like,
well, and I know personally from having a family business that it really is so much a part of your everyday world. And the fact that you all are exploring together, you're all learning together, you're open to all the new together, is such a beautiful, supportive way to go into this world. And I think you're all really lucky.
I agree.
Truly. But I also know that it's a lot of hard work. And like you said, it's been 2.5 years since vacation, since you had just the family time.
Yeah.
And
it can feel odd, like not to always like, well, we're tapping into spirit guides, but not everyone's tapping into spirit guides or is supported tapping into spirit guides. And I know from having 4 kids myself that sometimes they just want to be like, okay, I just want to like fit in and let's not.
Can we just be normal?
Can we be normal? Can we be normal? Can we be normal?
Whenever the subject of religion or Christianity comes up, either subbing for a softball team, new friend group, school, I always don't know how to explain it. I don't know what to say. I'm like, it's hard to explain.
Like what your orientation is in terms of your beliefs or religious construct, because a lot of times people will try to orientate another person by saying like, oh, are you
Yeah. What bucket do you fit in?
Yeah.
What's your label?
right?
Right?
And
Yeah.
when you're kind of moving in a realm that is beyond label, which I think is really freeing and helpful, because it, I think, keeps us more in our state of fullest potential. It can also feel like you say, like, I'm not really sure how to answer that question.
Yeah.
But sometimes I tell my kids, like, you're a spiritual being, and you can just say, I believe in, that spiritual. But I get it, because I was not raised that way at all. So tell us about, if you're willing, for a moment, about Tom and Linda, because you also mentioned them as spirit guides.
Yeah. Linda came to me first. Like, she was probably one of my first spirit guides. She was my mother in multiple, like,
Lifetimes.
I probably can't even count lifetimes. She's always there with me. Like, she's over there. She's listening.
Hi, Linda.
She's always there.
If she has a message, you can share it if you want. She's here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Tom, like, kind of came to me after I started to kind of get close with Linda and kind of realize how much I've related to her. And they've just been kind of there, like, holding up the green or red card, telling me what to do since I was super young.
I love that. So you're tapping into, like, the green card being like, yeah, go for it. Opportunity. It's going to go well. It's optimal, even if it's a challenge. And the red card, like, stay away. That is not going to lead you into what's optimal for you. Because what's optimal for you is going to be different than what's optimal for your mom or your dad or me or Sharon. Cool.
I'm thinking I was gonna say something and I just lost it. It's all right.
No, you're doing great. Our son, who's 16 and not here today, is also intuitive, but I think he's tapped in a different way. He's, I think, more like me. It's more of a passive. It's an undercurrent. There's a push. There's something there, but it's not a voice that names itself like Tom and Linda did for Brindley. He's an encyclopedia of knowledge. He knows so much. He's a sponge, like, really he is. And I think that's part of it. His engineering and his intelligence, I think, come from his guides. And
for sure,
he does have times where the clutter, the collective noise can get to him, and it's a lot. But
well, and I think you're highlighting something really important, Steve, is that your work with your guides may come as a name, but it also may come as attributes and qualities and abilities
through your artwork
or through your engineering or through that encyclopedic knowledge. And for people to be open to how it works for them, that guidance that's kind of beyond the here and now.
Yeah, I do think some people, knowing how powerful the seeing part can be, don't understand that they may be hearing or knowing or sensing
or feeling.
Yeah, and having it come through different avenues, whether it comes through your artwork or it comes through your written word. That is as much a gift as the seeing, know?
Yeah, I feel like everyone shows it in a certain type of way.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a different sign and way to see it through someone that everyone has different.
I fully agree. And I remember, because I get a lot of knowings and hearings, and I remember I had shut my sight down because of sort of some adverse experiences as a kid. And I was like, I really want to be able to see. And it's slowly come back on. It's like a muscle. When you start to use it and work it, it like comes back. But I used to defer to those who could see the movies, and it took me a while to like, oh, this is my way of working and knowing and hearing and listening and implementing that guidance. But that took a little bit of trial and error. And I think you bringing your son forward and how he experiences it is an important calibrator because it's such a wide range of experience.
Yeah. And I think that also taps into the idea of sovereignty,
Mhm.
really understanding what your gifts are, and how you are free to be you and express yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's just so fantastic that you do it as a family as well as out in the community. I mean, you batting 1,000 as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Truly.
We're getting there. I know for both kids being 12 and 16, their peers are still under the guidance of their parents. So if they go to church, the kids go to church. If they're sent to a Bible camp for the summer, they go to if they get a crucifix at their confirmation, they're wearing it, and then that's a statement. So yeah, we want a judgment-free zone, but we can't make that for our kids because in school, there's expectations, and they might be a dabbling, oh yeah, what's your sign? But that's kind of like fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like sticking your toe in the water a little bit, So I've heard Brinley and her friends talk about signs and things, but then, that can kind of be it, the edge of comfort for some of the
Like
kids.
astrological signs. you're talking.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is actually a really nice entree into
Mhm.
it so that you start to understand the energetic differences. But it's like dipping your toe in the water, And I think early on, I got my daughter comfortable with me being, that mom. She's a little off, But
I wouldn't say you're off, but I know what you mean.
off the beaten path.
Yeah, right.
You kind of resist labels. I resist labels.
Hmm.
But how do you help your child navigate the fact that you need to go to school and you have to do everything you're supposed to do and respect the authority and the teachers and then I personally spend a lot of time trying to break those cycles, and unlearn those things so that I can stretch. And so balancing that for you must be amazing.
Something popped into my mind when he was talking. His parents are very Catholic. Like, they are hardcore Christians. Almost every room in their house had a cross in it,
Mhm.
I love how open they have been to the edge, though. Like, they have it in their apartment, in their condo. We moved into their house. They've been just so supportive of it, and I love that they kind of opened up and listened to him.
That's amazing. And sometimes I think our kids are those catalysts that keep us on a more open plane when we might, as we grow older, if we don't stay curious, we might start to narrow what our comfort zone is. And so here, that's a beautiful illustration, Brinley, of your dad's ability to invite his parents to be curious that there might be something more than what their framework or their belief system has held.
Yeah, they really, for how devoted they are, really didn't push, going back to the baptism and going, well, you're getting them baptized, of course. I mean, that's what you do. They really backed off with that stuff. And I think whether they just knew they were barking up the wrong tree or whether they just were crossing their fingers.
He's hopeless.
Oh boy, now what? But yeah, what's he up to now? But yeah, they've been so supportive. When the new issue of the print magazine comes out, they'll run over and get a copy. And
Oh, that's sweet.
I sometimes wait for a phone call. Why are you discussing ayahuasca? What's this? You're telling me that your dog is a third eye animal sent to you?
I hear you're actually an
And,
but Brinley, before we went on air, said that Steve is an animal whisperer.
Yeah.
Ticks will go onto his arm and
Ticks?
just crawl. Yeah.
They don't bite me. They just come say hi. They just crawl up my arm to say hello.
Caterpillars, he'll be mowing the yard. He'll look over. A caterpillar is just walking up his arm.
Amazing.
That's your
Because
frequency.
it is
I
a
mean,
frequency.
yeah.
If there's
I'm
a
just
moth or
like-
a spider stuck in the house, I'll grab them in the cup and put it out in the garden.
Yep.
I do the same
I'll-
thing.
Me too. Yep.
I'll be outside for 10 minutes playing like Go Fish with him or something on the deck, my whole leg will be just all mosquito bites. He'll be over there,
Nothing.
maybe one mosquito.
Amazing.
They like you. You're my
You're a
pest control.
decoy.
I'm a shield.
That's it.
I'm a shield
You're
for
the
you.
bait that I throw out.
Have a little piece of Brinley. Just kidding, Brinley.
But it's always my legs or arms. It's nowhere else.
Weird.
It's never like I see people getting on their neck or their face. It's never been there.
I like it.
And it's always been my left side of my body too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Look out.
I'm telling you, it's frequency,
know.
vibration, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No doubt. So, okay, let's just give a little bit of context here. So, the Edge magazine is it comes out how frequent? Where can people get it? How can people participate online? How can people contribute? Let's give a little bit of like the bones, so to speak, the skeletal.
Yeah, we could do that, right?
You both Steve and Kelly, you guys can riff. So how frequent does it come?
Every other month.
Yeah,
Every other
6
month.
times
In
a year,
print.
which is a change from previous ownership. We wanted to continue print. That was a major
I
decision.
love that you did, by the way. I
Yeah.
was rooting for that. I was like, stay in print because I have a little bit of background.
We
with
had a lot
print.
of input on both sides of it, but
I'm
we
sure.
knew, it was the Edge core audience. That's what they were used to. And we certainly didn't want to
Lose that.
drop them right off the bat and expect to just get this whole new audience. So we really wanted it to be a bridge, the sustainability of printing on paper from trees. We don't know what that's going to be like. Realistically, someday it might just transition to an app or something more tech-based, but people really like it. I like after being on a computer all day, sit down with a magazine.
Oh my
Isn't it-
gosh, I love it.
I love the tactile part.
I'm
of it.
holding
I
one
need
right
it.
now
Yeah.
for those listeners out there. But if
Isn't
you're
it digital and physical?
Yes. Oh, you are so good. Did we prep you for this?
Nice intro. Just
The
segue
The
right
magazine
in.
is also available as a flip book on our website, so you can see it there. But yes, we are trying to branch out. We're trying to make it offered in multiple ways.
and can people subscribe to get it sent to them? Where do they go, Kelly?
Okay, I'm gonna do it fast since we're coming
Yeah.
into our hot for the wrap up the segment. We have drop spots all over the Twin Cities. We're at 400 drop spots. We are in the Las Vegas area, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North South Dakota, and Iowa. You can subscribe. You can check out our website, edgemagazine.net.
You can become a drop spot.
You can become a drop spot. Like there's all these ways to build the community. So we are blessed.
We are. And we are blessed to have the Wagners in studio. And shout out to James, who isn't here, but maybe next time he'll be here. Maybe your third eye dog will join us too. And thank you to guest co-host Sharon Crowley. This is Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth, and we will return with more Exploring Sovereignty with the Edge. What's your edge? Stay curious. This is Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth, and we're in studio with Kelly and Steve Wagner and Brinley, their daughter, who is 12, has graced us with her presence as well. And they are the publishers of The Edge magazine. And I'm so curious, and I know that that's also
You
one
use
of your
it any way you want to.
I know. And I mean, I loved it before, but I love that it's also part of the fabric of The Edge magazine. But I'm curious, Kelly, tell us a little bit about the history of The Edge magazine and who were the owners, and then how you guys said this big yes to it. And it continues to flow and evolve and become this beautiful platform for so many, far, near, wide, local, globally. Take it away.
So Gary and Incia just came in, by the way. So
Gary and who?
Incia. So Gary Beckman.
That she's talking energetically.
Energetically, my apologies. Oh no, the door just opened. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So 32 years ago, Gary Beckman and his wife Incia started The Edge. Now, anybody that has history beyond me, please, I might not get everything exactly correct. So there's a little folklore, there's a little history. So I'm going to do the best I can to represent it. So Gary started it, and as we're going into archives of our website, we are seeing that Gary interviewed some amazing national and international people in our space. And for example, Dolores Cannon has passed. It's been a couple of years, and she was, I think, a pioneer,
Dolores
right?
Cannon. Mm-hmm.
Pioneer.
Pioneer in quantum healing, and just for the community here, quantum healing and how you can work with your opportunity on Earth and the spirit guides supporting you.
And she passed.
It's short.
It's
condensed.
right, and it's not even an honoring Dolores.
Yes. Condensed explanation.
We're on page 1 for Google for a lot of her information, like even above some of her resources.
Amazing.
Because of the history with it. So Gary created this beautiful magazine and events. He was really known for events. And then he, I want to say about 12, 13 years ago, sold the magazine to Tim Mijan and Kathy Jacobson, who were part of his team.
That's who I knew. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he kept the events. And so he was doing events and sold that part of the business to Body, Mind, Spirit. So Edge Life Events was a really big in the Midwest, that if you wanted to bring anything, and he was doing events in like Earl Brown Center, but even the convention center. So this was big, and it was really heavily in print. Then the website was an afterthought, and social media was an afterthought. And when we found out that it was up for sale, we were in the process of moving, and I found some issues from 2000, 2005, 2011. So Steve had really never heard about The Edge, and I had just picked it up when I was at the Enchanted Rock Garden or a co-op, right? And it was just, ooh, this is fascinating. And so when I
had publicized in The Edge.
Don't we have every single copy?
We do have it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's just like bins of them downstairs, and
that's
just like,
cool. That would be a cool display somewhere, like in a physical location, like almost like a museum to The Edge.
We could probably do that
at some point. Keep going.
Someday.
Right.
Tourist attraction.
Right.
Exactly. Maybe it goes in one of the rooms at Prince's house, and Jan has it.
There we go. We'll work on that. Friendly project for school. There we go.
Oh my God.
Yay.
Okay, keep going.
No, and we found out it was up for sale. So we worked with our mentor, Maureen Higgins,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, should we throw our hat in the ring? Should we do this? I grew up with an entrepreneurial family, so that was very familiar with me. And then I remember seeing the ad online, and it said serious inquiries only. And I remember reaching out to them.
Am I serious?
Right. Am I serious? And am I serious? And then
am I curious? Am I serious?
Right. You just kind of like, oh, and Maureen was like, you should really throw your hat in the ring.
I remember this. Right? Yeah.
And we're like, okay. So we reached out to Kathy and Tim, and we started to craft the plan. And it was COVID. And so they had so many events and so many advertisers and going to print and all these logistics at the beginning of COVID, so much uncertainty. And I think their energetic and involvement just, I was going to say it ran its course, but it wasn't that. It was like they're on a relay team and their part of the relay was up, and it was time to hand the baton off.
Nice.
And they didn't know who we are. And a lot of people in the community did not know who we are. And we kind of stayed in our own little bubble since we had our
Community for Higher
Community for Higher
Consciousness. Yeah.
Consciousness. So then we came to terms, and we found a win-win for both Kathy and Tim and us. And then we bought it. And then it's like, okay, now what? Like, right? That's what we did. It was like, now what? And so we put a business plan together, and we started to talk to a lot of our mentors, and they said, yes, you guys can do this. And there's something really powerful with that. And yes, we had ideas, and I really feel, in paying homage to Gary and Insia, his wife, and then also Kathy and Tim, that they started a lot and they opened doors and they planted a lot of seeds. We're just able to, again, be in the relay race and have the baton run with it. So luckily, Steve, when he started to have conversations with Tim and they were talking about the website, Steve's like, oh, I know that platform. Oh, okay, beautiful. And we knew,
Amazing.
right? Like, and I had an ad sales background when I was out of college, so I'd understood,
Also amazing.
right, like the concept. So it's like all of these beautiful life experiences brought us to this. And then,
And I love, like, because a lot of times, like, we in a previous show we were speaking with Sharon, and she was talking about all her past iterations, right, and how it brings, like, it's like sometimes you don't realize why you're in a job, why you're doing what you're doing, how it's going to actually prepare you for this next level work. So keep going.
So we're just building it out, and it's all about collaboration. It's, for example, how to get to AM 950. Chad, the amazing station owner of AM 950, we met to just see how could we promote each other, and then it kind of evolved to a show.
The Being Curious
The
show.
Being Curious show, right?
With Kelly and Brian.
It's on after this one. Magical, right?
Another collaboration.
Woohoo! Well, it is a collaboration, and it took me 6 months to sign the contract because I was like, there's no way I could do a radio show. There's fear, like, right? But then I've joke to people for years that I needed my own YouTube channel just of all the things that happened to me in life. So it's like, talk about manifesting, right?
Yeah, totally. And now you've also connected with Gary and Encina. Do you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
Right. So on a monthly basis, when we work with Maureen, it's just like our oil changes, our hookups. We always check into the Edge, and we always bring Gary in, and he's said things like,
because he's passed.
He's
human form.
In human form.
But he's still guiding.
And he's so excited. He says that the Edge was the stallion in the whatever, it's the training ground that never got to be in the show. Insia wants an app, and that's
I do too.
Yeah.
I want to, for a couple of things, but keep going.
So there's just all these things, and we ask him, how are we doing? What are we doing? And do we need anything new? And he'll give his insight, right? And Insia always shows up with the sparkles. So it's lovely, and it's interesting to be able to utilize the here, there, and everywhere into the business decisions and guidance, and it's collaboration on like every single level.
Yeah, the metaphysical, the physical, down to like,
right,
everything.
And there's a lot of people that are in the conventional mindset lifestyle that they feel comfortable opening up our magazine and exploring that. Like, for a beautiful example of my in-laws, who are deeply in their faith. And we were very nervous to quote, like, I don't want to say come out of the spiritual closet to them. But we were like, they knew that I rolled in a really different way, but they never asked. It was like, no, don't ask, don't tell. And this is like
tell and tell. This is like tell and keep telling.
I feel like it's showing people that they're not alone. Like, they're not hearing voices or something. Like, they're not crazy. Like, people who've grown up in very religious households, like, they couldn't feel comfortable telling their parents that they are feeling this, that they can actually see, oh, I'm not crazy, and I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was very easy for my parents when I was talking about somebody in the room with me, or talking to a person that they couldn't see. That was very easy to say, oh, that's Steve. That's his imagination. Oh, his imaginary friend's back again. And we went to my
I had a few
grandfather's
quote
house.
unquote imaginary friends. Yeah. Mhm.
We went to my grandfather's house after his funeral, and a couple of the cousins were down sleeping in sleeping bags in the basement. And he came to me, and I told my mom about it the next day. And what a nice dream that was you had. So it was always this.
Dismissive.
Yeah, there's
Or
a
like
dividing
rational,
line.
like how do we
Mhm.
rationalize your experience?
Yeah. He came to you. Okay, that's like with the unicorns and the and the fairies and things. That's all just kind of fun and mythology, but not real. But yeah,
And your parents didn't take it well either that you were talking about this.
Oh, my parents have had the opposite reaction to Steve's parents.
So they don't have the magazine.
No, they don't have the magazine. They are
Yeah.
they're right.
That kind of gives
But
you the
but
answer.
let's like go to this. This is like funny, like, and how energy works. So my parents lived in Spooner Siren, Wisconsin, built a property, and they recently sold it and moved to Florida. And the people that bought it are Reiki masters and
Really?
right, and they're turning it into an energetic, holistic health and wellness
Oh
retreat
my
center.
goodness.
And-
Amazing.
Right. And I reached out to them and I said, first of all, clear the land.
I can help you if
I
you
can
need
help you
it.
with that.
Yep. Mhm.
I totally believe in you guys. So it's interesting. And I guess as the property was being sold, I guess my dad did mention the Edge magazine because
Oh.
they knew that it was kind of leaning into them, and yeah. So I helped him with the sale of the property.
Congratulations.
That's
fun
actually
way.
really funny.
It is really funny.
It
right?
is. It's like the
I
cosmic karmic
didn't even
giggle.
know that was
Yeah,
happening.
I know. So right.
That'll be cool to
I
see
think
what
it's
that.
called Evergreen Haven. I want to give them a heads up or like a
Shout out.
Shout out. But I'm not doing it right. But it's
When you get it, we'll
When I
put
get
it
it,
in
we'll
the.
get it.
We'll put it in the notes
we'll
of
bring
the
them
show.
in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But just I wish them absolute luck, and I think they're going to do a great job.
That's amazing.
It is a very beautiful piece of land. I mean,
What's one thing that you guys have learned in this more recent journey of saying yes to the Edge from that 2020 opportunity that you might want to share with our listeners who are considering this like a trajectory shift? Like, what's a piece of wisdom? They might be like, I'm on this track, but I'm considering something that's in alignment with where I want to go, but it's a leap of faith because it sounds like you took a leap.
It was quite a leap. Yeah, I'm generally the concrete, sequential, rational thinker. So I'm good at analyzing and seeing the reasons why something won't work.
Uh-huh.
he looks
And-
at the bad opportunities while she looks at the good opportunities.
Well, and that's part of the balance
yin
of
to
us
the yang.
as
Yeah.
just a couple and as business owners, as we complement each other
For sure.
in that way. But this was one time where I really strongly felt it was going to work, and it wasn't going to be easy by any means. To give a visual, we were
with struggles, it was going to work.
Yeah, we were on a mountain, and there's a valley between us, and there's a peak across this rope bridge, and it's hazy. You can't see what's in between. You see the rope bridge far off away. You see your destination, that peak. So I knew it was there. Sure as hell didn't know how we're going to get there. And we knew there was going to be a lot of learnings along the way, but we were forced. That kind of chaos and unknowing gave us the permission to basically rebuild it any way we wanted. So that's where the multimedia, the radio show comes from. We wanted to have the magazine be more aesthetic, more of a experience than just reading
Yeah,
something.
like even the paper quality and the font and typography and the artwork has been just stunning.
You can tell that it's crafted by an artist. And I will
Yeah.
tell everybody, whether they're a contributor or a reader, Steve completely worries about the font color, the header,
I
the
appreciate
typography,
that.
like every single
attention to
page
detail.
is just
I
crafted
keep
with
on
love.
trying to push him to design a cover eventually.
Oh yeah, I want to see
He
Steve
is
on the
such
cover.
an artist. When I was little and I couldn't really draw, I could color. He would draw them for me. So
Yeah,
I
you
kept
got
on
a
pushing.
sneak peek yesterday, right?
So here's the
Special
deal to our
access.
listeners. I would say take the leap. Even if you aren't sure how to design it, you might be able to color it, draw it, envision it. Even if it's a rickety bridge, the adventure's worth it for that new peak.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Wagners. Kelly, Steve, Brinley, James, and Spirit, and all the spirit guides here with us in this conversation of exploring sovereignty with Elizabeth. Thank you, Sharon, for joining us for the first few segments, and welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.